Everyone
Wow.
enjoy their weekend, their holiday this past week. Some of you, I haven't seen you since the last moon event.
It's nice to see so many faces here today.
Yes. All right. We are up and going. Awesome.
So now we say hello to YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All the
Hi,
people out there
YouTube.
joining us via
Welcome,
YouTube.
welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. Okay, so my name is Valerie Lewis. This is the wonderful and amazing Robin Poole. Robin, give them a wave. And we are your host for today's new moon in Sagittarius with total solar eclipse moon celebration. Welcome everyone to today's event. I hope you are comfortable. You have something to take notes with or not take notes with. This is more of a celebration, just a chance for you to get to know all about what's going on up in the skies above. So a little bit about how this event is going to run today. There's going to be a slight change from usual. The way we present these events, I provide a very beginner-friendly look at the energies that are present, what a new moon means, what new moon in Sagittarius means, how this total solar eclipse is going to affect these energies from a beginner-friendly viewpoint. And then Robin, who is a bona fide actual astrologist, did I say that right?
It used to be astrologer, and somehow astrologist has now become popular. So I answer to either. I answer to astrologer or
she gives the more in-depth and detailed explanation, which is wonderful and amazing. So you get a little bit of both. We both go over the energies and what they're doing and how they can affect us. And then after that, we both share rituals. I'll share rituals on how you can work with the energies, and Robin will share rituals on how you can work with the energies. We generally close out with the meditation. We are not having the meditation this evening. It just was not in the cards. It's not what I was led to do by spirit. So we are not doing the meditation portion of today's event, but you all are going to have fun. You know why you're gonna have fun? Because aside from this being a celebration and y'all getting me, it's the new moon, it's Sagittarius. Yeah. I'm a Sagittarian, y'all. I'm super hyped about this event. So that's what's going on. That's how this is going to flow. And I'm just going to let this last individual get connected to sound before we move on. Marianne, you're Sagittarius too? What?
Yep.
When's your birthday?
December 16th.
Okay.
Yeah, what about you?
Sagittarian. November 28th. So
nice.
Fast. Yep. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. We are going to jump right in, and we are going to let the lovely, amazing Miss Robin Poole get us all settled in and get our energies all on the same track. Go ahead, Robin, take it away.
Okay, ooh, we have somebody else who says that her birthday's on November 30th, WKOOO. Yeah, okay, and I just want to mention, by the way, that, you know, sun sign astrology, which is what people say when they say I'm a Sagittarian, meaning I was born in late November to, you know, the 2/3 of December, and therefore my sun is in Sagittarius. That became super popular, to be frank, when astrology made its transition into like the newspaper and magazines, because it's a very easy way for people who don't understand astrology to categorize themselves, because everybody knows when their birthday is. So it's not just people who have their sun in Sagittarius who have a lot of Sagittarius energy. And this was confusing to me because my sun's in Virgo, and I always felt very Sagittarius-y, but I could never figure out why until I looked at my chart. And then I understood that I have Jupiter in Sagittarius and Neptune in Sagittarius, which are like the two most Sagittarius-y planets. And they're in the 10th house, which is at the top of my chart, which means that's like my public face. So you too can be a Sagittarian, even if you are not born between late November and late December. Sagittarius is very expansive, so nobody gets left out of the Sagittarius bandwagon if it's in your heart to jump on it. So I invite you all to access your Sagittarius energy. And I will point out, by the way, my background is very Sagittarius-y because I've got Hanukkah bear, I've got my Yule tree, I've got my late mother-in-law's Christmas ornaments, I've got my kitschy 1950s Santa with his reindeer. mug, which was a present from my friend. So Sagittarius is very like inclusive, wanting to expand your boundaries, celebrate all winter holidays. And if I've left your winter holiday out of my background, I apologize. I celebrate the ones that come to me from my culture, which is Jewish and then like Northern European English. So, but I honor all. Ooh, Joyce says she has Saturn and Uranus in Sagittarius. It's an interesting expression to have Saturn in Sagittarius because Saturn is about limitations and structure and Sagittarius is about expansion. So yeah, we could definitely talk about that if you want to contact me. But you can feel how Sagittarius-y you are by how excited you get by Christmas lights. That's my personal litmus test. If you're like, oh, I love holiday lights, then you have a good dose of Sagittarius energy inside of you. All right, anyway. But I welcome you in the spirit of Sagittarius to express your own Sagittarius energy however you want to. That was a little joke. Okay. All right, so I'm going to invite you to join me in letting go of any excess or extra energies however you feel comfortable. I'm feeling myself sitting in this chair, or you might be in bed or lying on the floor, wherever you are. Roll my neck around and wiggle my shoulders. Let the tension go wherever the tension or stress might be in my body. And I'm going to invite you to ground however you feel comfortable. That could be feeling your energies growing down like into the earth, like the roots of a tree, or maybe your energies are stretching out horizontally as you, in a Sagittarius way, let go of your boundaries and expand any energy you might have been holding inside. Or maybe you want to ground up to the stars and feel all of your energy shooting out, creating a beautiful bubble into space, connecting with the planets and astrology energies that we have today. Whatever it is, feel the support of the earth or the natural elements or the stars supporting you and filling you with love. And any worries that you have or your to-do list or what you're planning to do after this, you can let that go for the moment. If you want to keep it, you could put it in a basket at your feet and take it back when this is over. But I just invite you to let anything else that you might be thinking about go here so you can really focus on yourself today and on the energies that are present in our environment and on how you can use those for your highest benefit. And I invite you to set an intention with me that whatever you learn, whatever you take away, whatever Valerie and I say or people contribute, it will be for your highest benefit and your greatest personal growth. Feel free to let go of anything that doesn't resonate with you. If something rubs you the wrong way, perhaps that's a sign that things are being brought up for you to contemplate later or release or heal. But it's never anybody here, it's never our intention to say something purposefully that's hurtful or triggering. Feel free to contact me separately later if anything I say rubs you the wrong way and you'd like to say something to me about that. And I also want to set a nice bubble of protective energy here so that we don't have any negative energies that are coming. And to set the intention that everything we say is in love and in light, and that we also welcome the shadow, because I feel like being welcoming to your own shadow and the lessons that it has for you and the healing that might be needed is also super important. And we're going to make a nice gentle connection with each other here to create a safe space and a happy place for us to express ourselves and feeling secure and confident. And then my intention is that when we leave, all of our cords will be cut and we won't come away carrying away anybody else's energy that isn't for our highest good and best growth. So having said a lot, I'll take a moment just to settle in. Let those positive intentions ground in your body, center in your heart or your belly space. And let everything flow away that isn't the well-being that you want to experience while we are all together today. Take a couple of nice breaths. Let them out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back into our collective space, our beautiful space of love and light and expanded boundaries and understanding, connection and personal growth. Our safe and wonderful space. And we'll let Valerie get started.
Hello, thank you, Robin. That was wonderful. I see a couple of new faces, so I just want to quickly go over the guidelines for all Tarot, Unicorn, and Coffee online Zoom events. The first one is, we only have two. I keep it short and sweet. The first one is love and light always, 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 always. And the second one is, don't start no shit, won't be no shit. Be respectful of yourself and respectful of others. All right. So let's get into it. I'm going to jump right in and start my screen share. Maybe I will. I still got YouTube pulled up. Let me switch it. There we go. All right. Can everyone see my screen loading? Awesome, awesome. Okay, as some of you may already be aware, when I am doing screen share, I cannot see the gallery view. So I can see Robin, and I'm going to keep my eyes on Robin. If you have something that you would like to share, either put it in chat or raise your hand or raise your virtual hand, and Robin will try to keep an eye on that for me and pause me if I need to stop and answer something. But just so that you don't think I'm ignoring you, I'm not ignoring you. I can't see you when I have screen share going. So let's get started. New moon in Sagittarius, which is happening on December 4th. We always try to do these events a few days prior to the actual moon, so that if you decide to do any of the rituals or do some further research on your own, you have time to do that between now and the actual event. This is also happening on December 4th is the total solar eclipse. So let's start talking about new moon energies. What are new moon energies? What is this new moon just in general? New moons in general. New moon energy encourages us to refocus and look forward to what we want to manifest. New moons are opportunities to set our intentions and focus on what we want to bring into our lives. A little bit more on new moons. New moon gives us time to turn inward and reflect on our past month. Take note of what we've accomplished, what we want to change, and what we are still working on, etc. So just whatever this past month or past 2 weeks between now and the last full moon, or you can look at it between now and the last new moon, just reflect on whatever went down, whatever had happened, gives you a chance to pause and reflect on all of that. Now, after assessing your past month, we can let go of whatever didn't work and sync up with the new moon energy of fresh restarts as we focus forward. This energy, new moon energy, is like wiping the slate clean and starting again. What do you want a fresh start on? And how will you use this energy to move forward? These are questions that you can ask yourself with every new moon. What intentions will you set and commit to during this new moon phase? Y'all see I added that phrase commit to. So it's not just about setting intentions, it's about committing to them. Sagittarius energies. So that was just a basic overview of new moon energies. Now we're going to move into Sagittarius energies. It's kind of like I know a little bit about Sagittarius energies. Sagittarius is the element of fire. Fire. The quality is mutable. It's a mutable sign. Our ruling planet is Jupiter. The key phrase for this zodiac sign is I see. We are optimistic explorers. A little bit more about Sagittarius energy. No matter what your personal zodiac sign is, we are all honorary Sagittarians when the moon moves into this sign. So much like Robin started talking about earlier, we all have Sagittarius in our chart somewhere, but especially now when we have our new moon in Sagittarius, you are all now hereby honorary Sagittarians. Sagittarians are freedom-loving, optimistic explorers. They are truth seekers, energetic, outgoing visionaries, open-minded, flexible, talkative, and the life of the party, easygoing, creative, humorous, and intuitive. To sum it all up, that's a lot of descriptors, but to sum it all up, Sagittarians are fucking awesome. I might have a little bias. I might just be a little bit biased about that. Sagittarius's ruling planet is Jupiter, and it also contributes to energies that make Sagittarius what it is. Jupiter is the planet of luck, good fortune, and exploration, which is why Sagittarians love to explore so much. Exploration of both knowledge and spirituality. This contributes, the ruling planet of Jupiter contributes to the optimistic outlook of Sagittarians. Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign, and mutable signs are all about change and being flexible. So combine that with the passion of a fire sign, and you get someone who is always on the go, chasing their next big adventure and following their passions, often with very little planning or forethought. I can speak to that. Ask yourself, because now you are all Sagittarians, how can I use this creative, fiery energy to help me manifest? So now we're going to talk about the new moon in Sagittarius. So the new moon energy combined with the Sagittarian energy. New moon in Sagittarius asks us to look forward with optimism. This energy encourages you to set intentions that will allow you to explore something new, see things in a more optimistic light, be more outgoing, maybe take a leap of faith, follow your passions, or just in general, add more fun to your life. Be a visionary. What is the biggest, funnest, grandest vision that you can think of that you would like to manifest? That's what you can ask yourself when you think about setting your intentions under this new moon in Sagittarius energy. But wait, there's more. What about that total solar eclipse thing that's happening, Valerie? I'm so glad you asked. The total solar eclipse energy. So how does that affect what's going on? So this December 4th, a total solar eclipse, the total solar eclipse that happens on December 4th is the last one in the Sagittarius Gemini eclipse cycle. So for those of you that weren't present during our eclipse energy, Sagittarius and Gemini are opposite each other on the zodiac chart, on the zodiac wheel. They're complements of one another. And so when we have a new moon in Sagittarius, we would have a full, we would have a full moon in Gemini. No, eclipses. When we would have a total solar eclipse in Sagittarius, we would have a lunar eclipse in Gemini. And those would flip-flop and have flip-flopped over the past 18 months. This cycle began back in May 2020, and we will not see another Sagittarius Gemini eclipse cycle until 2029. So everyone say goodbye to the Sagittarius Gemini eclipse cycle. Now, as we wrap up this Sagittarius Gemini nodal energy, we find ourselves rediscovering how we communicate, commute, moving from one place to another. Remember, Sagittarians are travelers and explorers, and learn, as well as revamping our beliefs about our world and how we fit into it. This last eclipse in the series will give us a chance to make any final changes that allow us to fully embrace the learnings of the last 18 months. This period is asking us to explore what freedom really means to us on an individual level, and how we can creatively express and experience that sense of freedom on a more consistent basis. It's asking us to not only explore our current beliefs, but to replace outdated beliefs that no longer align with who we are. And that's a quote from Shireen Campbell. Another quote about this total solar eclipse energy: solar eclipses are a time to reflect internally, to embrace new opportunities that are coming your way, and to deal with past themes from your life. They can bring bold beginnings out of the blue, or a surge of motivation to start a new path that's better suited to your soul. You can think of the energy stirred up by a solar eclipse like an introspective new moon hyped up on 10 matcha lattes. So solar eclipse, you can think of it as sudden change, dramatic change, I don't so much like the name of sudden, because we know when an eclipse is coming, so it's not really sudden. Okay, a dramatic is better. Dramatic change, sometimes with a little bit of chaos thrown in, because it's that eclipse energy. Eclipses are the cosmic cleanup crew and catalysts believed to bring on abrupt endings and beginnings. They are the push we need to make change in our lives. And that was from mindbodygreen.com. Solar eclipses are a time of new beginnings and surprising opportunities. And this is a great time to manifest more abundance into your life by asking for and taking advantage of new opportunities. Just a little bit more info. The December 4th total eclipse is at 12/12 Sagittarius. I just thought that was interesting because 12/12 is an angel number for me, repeating numbers. And I saw this somewhere and then wasn't able to find the source, but I saw somewhere, I think I quoted it correctly, that it's only going to last a very brief amount of time. The actual totality of the solar eclipse is only going to last about 114 seconds before it moves. I mean, it's going to still be dark, but before it moves out of the totality. Y'all know what I mean. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. So let's put it all together. Let's talk about the new moon, Sagittarius, and the eclipse. So take all that you know so far about the fiery Sagittarius energy, combine it with what you know about that hyped up and somewhat chaotic energy of a total solar eclipse. Add those in with your new moon intention setting, and you get the potential for radical change. So if you take anything away, that would be my talking point. That will be what I wrote down on my paper if I was taking notes. All of these energies together for this new moon happening on December 4th give you the potential for radical change. This is your chance to really initiate some big changes in your life and start believing in that big, bold vision of yours. That big, bold vision is what Sagittarians do best. So just a couple of extra notes. If you're interested in speaking with Robin or myself, I always like to let you know that in addition to presenting these events, we also do private one-on-one consultations or readings, and we will put that information in chat. And that is all I have for the beginner entry-level one-on-one new moon in Sagittarius with total eclipse, total solar eclipse. And I'm going to turn it over to, now I'm going to check for questions. Did we have any questions?
We did. That was great, Valerie. And I'm actually really excited because I think that what I have to present is going to build just on your foundation, which is so awesome. So Madeline said, I've heard you aren't supposed to manifest during an eclipse, but I've also been told since the solar eclipse is on my birthday that I should spend time manifesting since this will be a big year for me.
Ooh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Well, let me answer. And this is from Valerie's own information. And what I feel divinely led to say is you can manifest. In fact, not you can, you already do manifest since before you were born, you are a manifestor. So as far as setting your intentions and trying to intentionally manifest, we do it all the time. The guidance is to just be aware of what energies are present so that you can work with those energies as you set about manifesting instead of working in resistance to those energies or not understanding what's going on and feeling some type of blockages to your manifestations. The suggestion and the reason why we do these events is not to tell you, do this, no, don't do this, no, wait, this is not the day for that, wait until it's 10, no, it's not, that's not why we're doing these. We're doing these just so that you can become aware of what is happening, what influences might be present in your life so that you can plan accordingly. So I say, by all means, manifest away. You're doing it anyway. You're doing it anyway, every day. Robin, did you have anything you would like to add?
I do. Thank you for asking. Yeah. No, it's a great question. And actually it reminded me of something I wanted to say. This came to me while I was at the gym today. Actually, I was on the exercise bike and I'm like, oh, I need to say this today in our event. So I feel like, knowing about the astrological energies is just information. It's, and you can get overwhelmed by information and you can get in that, oh no, what if I do it wrong? Well, am I supposed to manifest? Well, am I not supposed to manifest? And of course, because it's the internet age, everybody who has a website has a different opinion about what you should be doing. And so there isn't any inherent benefit in simply knowing the information or in picking out one person that you're going to be like, well, she says not to, so I'm going to follow her. Or he says I should, so I'm going to follow him. So I think the real benefit comes from saying, okay, I've got this information now, and I'm going to talk more in my presentation about what kind of manifesting I think is the right manifesting to make use of the astrological energies that we're experiencing now. So you can listen to me. I'll be yet another person with yet another opinion about what you should be doing. But what you really should do is take this information and then look inside yourself, connect with your intuition, connect with your higher self, and look outside of yourself if you want to. So ask your spirit guides or your divine connection or your ancestors, whatever you believe in, and then try to figure out, where is the healing growth path for me? How do I let my own energies of manifestation interact with whatever recommendations I've been given? What resonates with me? What are my spirit guides telling me? What is my intuition really drawn to right now? And as you let those healing energies in and you connect with your own growth path, then you're going to be able to figure out what kind of manifestation is right. And do you want to do magic or do you not want to do magic? But really, it's not like, don't take strychnine. That's just good advice, right? Don't poison. Nobody should do that. That applies to every human body pretty much. I mean, forgive me if somebody has an arcane practice with strychnine, but in general, avoid rat poison, right? But I think that working with energies and manifesting is a much more individualized path. And so whatever feels right for you is appropriate. And also you can start with something small. When I started talking to my spirit guides, I wasn't sure where this voice was coming from. And I experimented with, should I buy this sweater at Goodwill? And should I answer the phone? And that's because I thought I probably am not going to mess up my life by buying a $4 sweater at Goodwill or letting the phone go to voicemail. Like if they care, they'll leave a message, I'll go back and check it. So if you're not sure, start with something low stakes and calibrated so that you'll be able to understand how to properly interpret your own impulses and vision. That's my friend.
Love
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So W. Kane 000 says, I know that in magical circles, doing magic during an eclipse is a no-no. That's a terrific example. If you are doing magic and you would like to research why not to do magic during an eclipse and you find that that calls for you, I would totally go with that. On the other hand, you might decide that your manifestation is not magic and therefore that manifesting is allowed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it really has to do with what resonates correctly for you. Okay. Does anybody else want to ask anything or speak before I dive into what's going on in the sky?
Robin, I'm sorry to bother. Yeah, so what if so you answered my question about my fourth house, but my fourth house is ruled by Scorpio, and
Right.
it does have Saturn and Uranus and Sagittarius in the fourth house. I
Mhm.
mean, will Scorpio in the fourth ruling the fourth house play any part in?
Yeah, so your fourth house is probably, there are many house systems to use. And if you use a house system where you end up with two signs in the same house, then the way that you're thinking of your fourth house is as a mix of Scorpio and Sagittarius energy. Now, if you have two planets in Sagittarius in the fourth, that means that they express themselves more from your perspective in that. But you probably have some mixture of both of Sagittarius and Scorpio energies there.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
But you probably also have some Sagittarius overlapping the fifth then, if it rules the fifth house. And that's a recipe for fun. So that's a really fun placement.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right. Anybody else want to ask anything before we move on? Okay. I'm going to share my screen here. And there it is. And okay, can you guys all see this? I can't see anybody when I have share my
Yes.
screen share. I'm envious. Valerie manages to see at least me. I can't see can't see anything. All right. So just so you know, very occasionally my internet flips out. We don't have a storm here today, but if that happens, just wait 30 seconds and I'll come right back on, and then you can tell me we lost you when you were talking about Uranus, and then I'll move on from there. Okay, so we got the new moon here. The tropical zodiac is Sagittarius, as Valerie has spoken about. That means that when the astrology was written down about 2,000 years ago, the signs aligned with the seasons. And Sagittarius is the sign at the beginning of winter, which means we're all sitting around the campfire, telling stories, getting excited about our vision for the coming year, which is part of where those Sagittarius energies come from. But since then, the Earth's rotation has a little wobble to it. And so it loses 1 degree every 72 years. And the actual position of the zodiac in the sky now is about 24 degrees behind the seasonal alignment of the signs. And that's the sidereal sign. And if you want to do more research on this, you certainly can, or you can contact me and I'll explain it in more depth. But I like to use both the tropical and the sidereal zodiac. Most astrologers don't, and I think you can get good readings either way. By the way, Vedic astrology goes with the sidereal sky, although you can also do Western astrology with the sidereal sky. So the way I think about it is that the tropical reveals what's going on with us in our inner world because we are so aligned with the seasons. And I found that the sidereal zodiac often gives us an idea of kind of what the outer results or experiences are going to be in the real world. And they're not always the same. So I'm going to talk about both of those, and then we'll get to the placements in the sky. So I titled this combination of tropical Sagittarius and sidereal Scorpio, Exploring Your Revealed Territory. So the moon right now is at perigee. The moon's orbit is an ellipse. It's not a perfect circle around the Earth. So there are times when the moon is closer to the Earth and times when it's farther away. Right now it's closer. And this results in our physical world in extreme low and high tides. And we live on a river right near where it meets the sea. This is a park about a block from our house. And we had a beautiful, rare, sunny day, which is not very common for the Oregon coast in late November. And we went for a walk, and I was stunned by how low the tide was. And this is normally all underwater. And what happened is that so much was revealed by the low tide. And we were able to walk in places that are normally you have a boat if you want to get to this place. And I thought that was a really great metaphor for what's going on with these energies, is that there's a lot of revealed territory, and that's going to give us a chance to explore new areas. So you can see there were footprints, there was algae, there were shells, there were rocks. I discovered a whole bunch of elk tracks. And if you can see kind of in the edge here, these are the elk tracks. And then there were tracks of all kinds of other animals there. And I was like, gosh, all of this is mostly covered by water, and we never see all the animals that have walked here at the last low tide. Here's another close-up of the elk tracks. So what I really wanted to encourage you and me is this is a time when we can really explore this new territory inside of ourselves, as Valerie said, and figure out what is that great vision that we are really interested in. So that's kind of the theme for today, is exploring the new territory, the revealed stuff. And it's not always pretty and it's not always easy, but understanding what's really going on inside of you, I think, is the fuel for manifesting an amazing vision that you are going to love, and not just a practical vision that makes money or something that pays the bills or something that, fits with however you were raised. Okay, so we are on the solar side here. And this, by the way, is a slide from our Eclipse astrology class that we did last month. And maybe Valerie can put that link in the chat if you missed the Eclipse astrology class and you want to go back and watch the replay. It has a lot more information about how to use eclipses to supercharge your transformation. We're on the solar side here. So new starts, arrivals, new life chapters, intention, manifestation, opportunity. And these work great with Sagittarius Jupiter energy, because Jupiter is all about abundance, opportunity, and bringing new things into your life. Okay, so this is the chart for the eclipse. And this is the chart for the eclipse in Valerie's hometown in honor of her. So your chart may be a little bit different depending on where you have Sagittarius. you can see the tropicals at 12 degrees Sagittarius. That's this moon sign. And then the thing that looks like a donut or Homer Simpson's eyeball is the sun. So they're right next to each other. And then if we subtract 24 degrees sidereally, if you went out and actually looked into the sky, you would see the sun and the moon, the eclipse, against the background of Scorpio here. So you should ask where Sagittarius is in your chart, because wherever that is means this eclipse and this new moon are likely to affect you there. So Joyce shared that she has Sagittarius in her 4th and 5th houses. So she's probably looking at changes in her home life, or perhaps in her sense of creativity and self-expression. By the way, if you have any planets, say like 10 to 14 degrees of Sagittarius, that means that this eclipse will affect you extra strongly. So it's right over any of the natal planets in your chart. It's probably a big effect for you. And then if we look at it more carefully, we can see that the tropical new moon here, an eclipse, is in the term of Venus. The Chaldeans broke each sign up into different areas that were ruled by different planets. And this is in the area ruled by Venus. And then it's in the decan of Mars. And the decans are basically when you divide the sign into 3 10-degree chunks. And each of them corresponds to another sign in the same element. So this is the fire sign of Aries here. But the fact that we can see that this is in the decan of, the term of Venus and the decan of Mars is going to help us interpret these energies more carefully. If we look at the sidereal one, we can see it's at 18 degrees Scorpio. That's in the decan of Neptune and the term of Mercury. So what does that mean for us as far as bringing these energies into our lives? Okay, so here's the tropical, your inner world, enjoying the challenges of your exploration. Venus is all about joy and creativity and laughter and love and relationships. And Mars is about working hard and getting sweaty and struggling and doing the hard work that it takes to make progress or achieve what you want to achieve. So the fact that we have Venus and Mars here is kind of an opposition in terms of energies, also obviously the male energy and the female energy. But they really can work together to help the hard work and the challenge be a little bit more fun if you don't get obsessed by the hard work and challenge. So here are our questions. What new territory is calling to you that you might want to explore? How can you flex your muscles to go beyond? Flex your muscles is very Mars. Like, don't be looking for the easy route. This is not the time to just like sit in a bubble bath and let everything come to you. There might be some digging, there might be some unearthing, there might be some, scratches from bushwhacking through the brambles. But how can you put in some effort here to really discover new things about your inner world and about what you want to see in the outer world? And what new bushwhacking sounds like fun? Bushwhacking is the process literally of whacking the bushes as you make your own trail. So you get out your machete and you're like, I'm not going to stick to this road. I'm not just going to, take the trail that the Forest Service cut out for me. I'm going to set off cross country and explore a brand new territory that nobody's ever been to before. And this picture here is, we had the great honor and privilege of going to Egypt a few years ago. And I think building a pyramid is a great example of Venus, Mars, Sagittarius energy, because it's a heck of a lot of work. But boy, is there a lot of satisfaction and joy in creating something new and wonderful for yourself. So that's really where we are here, is putting in the effort to find this new territory and create something that we are really going to enjoy. So how is that likely to manifest in your actual world? And this is where things get a little bit tricky here. So Scorpio is not a sign of joy and abundance and outgoing energy like Sagittarius. In fact, it's kind of opposite in some ways. It's about really doing the inner work and getting deep inside of you. And there's a necessity of dealing with challenging subjects, or maybe taboo subjects, or things that you want to maybe hide. And so the idea is that all of the joy of exploring this new territory is likely to bring up some inner stuff that you will then have to work through and figure out how to interpret in order to create a vision and find a territory that you're really going to love. So I titled this Communicating Your Inner Mystery. And I used a lot of metaphor here because the way that Neptune is in a chart, there's a lot of unknown and a lot of like, wow, I'm really going to have to think about this. So I was purposefully not super concrete when I wrote these. Contemplate the tracks left in your own soul. is there stuff that other people have given you, other people's opinions, conditioning, like those elk tracks that got uncovered in the low tide, where you're like, wow, this is really limiting me, or this doesn't feel authentic, or this is telling me to go in a direction, or naysaying a direction that I really want to go in, that really doesn't fit me. Tune in to the frequency of your own unique genius. This isn't the time to be following other people's plans. I mean, they can help you and give you advice, but really it's about what makes your own soul vibrate in a way that is pleasing and inspiring to you. And then be inspired by your intuitive connection on the inside and the outside. So when I say inside, that's your higher self, your internal parts, your own intuition about what fits for you. And then if you want to connect with your divine connection or spirit guides or ancestors or whatever your religious background might be for you, to really take those instincts and then be inspired to move forward and expand farther. And this happened to me recently. I have a couple of Capricorns in my family as Capricorn sun signs, as we've said in the chart. And the other day, my spirit guide came to me and she was like, you know, your view of Capricorn is too limited by the actual Capricorns you know. And I was like, really? And she said, yes. She's like, you know, they have Capricorn energy, but you need to see the way of looking at Capricorn energy that works for you. And I was like, wow, we had this really interesting conversation. I have my moon in Capricorn, and I realized I was afraid of my moon because I was thinking that my moon was like these family members, and my relationship with them is good, but it's not always comfortable. So anyway, really looking inside at what your intuitive connection is and then connecting that to your desire to explore. Does anybody have any questions, or does this resonate with you guys with what's been going on in the last few days?
We do have questions.
Okay.
So Wendy had a question about the chart, and it said, what's the orb that's used with the eclipses?
That's a good question. So orb basically means how close do you have to be to have an effect? So like the eclipse is at 12 degrees Sagittarius. So like, what if your planet's at 14 degrees? Is that close enough to be affected by the eclipse? And my experience in working with people with eclipses is that plus or minus like 3 or 4 degrees. So if it's at 12 degrees, then if you have a planet anywhere from 8 degrees Sagittarius, so that's 12 minus 4, to 16 degrees Sagittarius, which is 12 plus 4, that's going to be a strong effect. But in general, any natal planet in Sagittarius at all means that this eclipse will still have a stronger than normal effect than it would in a house or a sign where you had no planets at all. So I use an orb of plus or minus 4 degrees for an extra strong effect. But if you have any planets in Sagittarius, you probably will experience this more than you would if you had no planets at all. Does that answer Wendy's question?
I believe so. I don't see any further questions. No
I have a
hands up.
question.
Okay.
So I have Pluto at 12 degrees Sagittarius, which I think might be, I'm in Pacific Standard Time, so it might be like a couple degrees different. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm just wondering, do you think I'll relate more to the sidereal of the Scorpio because that's ruled by Pluto? And maybe this will like resonate with me more than the tropical advice that you've given here?
That's a really good question. I personally wouldn't feel comfortable saying more or less, because that would depend to me on various other things in your chart. Like, do you have other planets in Scorpio? And do you, like that sort of thing. Like there's a lot of other factors that go into a chart that would allow me to say what's going to be the strongest influence for you. But honestly, I think this is where my advice to really connect with your own intuition is important, because what's not important is to say, well, in theory, I should be more influenced by Scorpio or I should be more influenced by Sagittarius. This is just my opinion. In my opinion, what's important is to go inside of you and say, which aspect of me needs this energy more strongly? Or maybe they both need it. Is your Scorpio thinking, wow, I really could use more energy. I've got shadow work I need to do, or I need to be more honest about difficult parts inside of me. Or is your Sagittarius thinking, you know what, I do feel constrained. I need more energy to explore. Or maybe they both need help. So really it's more like these are some options for how to think about this. And then you can apply them to your own inner psyche to figure out where your psyche wants to expand and grow and what will really resonate with you.
Thank you.
Yep. Great.
Robert, we also
Yes.
have another question from Miriam, and it says, can you explain more about Sagittarius in 6th house?
Sure. So the 6th house is related to work, daily routines, and also your health. And so if you have Sagittarius in the 6th house, that probably means that you need a daily work environment with a lot of variety or a lot of freedom, where you're able to, do what you have to do, but also explore new options, or you're constantly wanting to build in your skills. You might also enjoy work that involves traveling, which could be actual travel to different places, or maybe like, I want to work at the desk, and then I want to work in the break room, and then I want to work in the lunchroom, and then I want to take my laptop outside. So you're migrating around to different places. You also may find, if you have Sagittarius in the 6th, that you, when it comes to health, you want to try out like new and alternative ways of healing yourself. It's not just like, let me stick with the structure and the protocol, but you want to try different herbs, you want to try exercise, you want to try meditation. So Sagittarius in the 6th means definitely feel free to expand and travel and give yourself freedom when it comes to work and health issues. And then I think I want to go on with the rest of this. And then if we have time at the end, I'll be happy to answer people's questions about their own charts, or you can always contact me after the fact to do that. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to the actual chart of the eclipse. And by the way, Wendy, it's at 12 degrees Sagittarius, no matter what time zone you're in. The time zone would change what house it was in the actual chart, but the degrees of the eclipse and the new moon here are always at 12, no matter what your time zone is. So we got a couple interesting things going on in the sky. In addition to the perigee, we have Mercury and Venus out of bounds. And in brief, this means that they have especially high, or in this case, maybe low angles above the ecliptic, which is the path of the sun through the sky. And so, and you, again, can do more research, or you can ask me more questions later. But what it typically means is that when the planets are out of bounds, there's a lot of extra energy that they have. So we get unconstrained or wild behavior in communication or relationships. It's a little bit of a wild ride with out of bounds planets. We also have a conjunction down here with Mercury. That's the planet that looks like Venus, but then it has a little antennae. I think of them as antennae because Mercury is the planet of communication. And we have a couple issues here. So one is Mercury is very close to the sun, which means communication can kind of be supercharged. Two is that Mercury is in Sagittarius, which is not its happiest expression usually, because Mercury and Sagittarius can tend to have lots of ideas and talk a lot, but they're not necessarily super coherent, and there can be like a tendency to more talk than action. So I said scattered communication and exploration. You can feel very energetic, but also like kind of all over the place a little bit.
I feel
also
personally attacked right now, Robbie. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
There's also a tendency with Mercury and Sagittarius to say things that kind of rub people the wrong way, or just like blurt stuff out. So you may have to apologize after the fact, but my experience is that Sagittarians almost always have really positive inclination, positive intentions. And if you say something and it's not what people wanted to hear, you can just apologize, but just know that may happen with Mercury and Sagittarius. Okay, we also have a square with Neptune and Pisces. Now, this means two angles are 90 degrees apart as a square. And it's not a very tight square, because you can see our moon and sun here are at 12 degrees and Neptune's at 20 degrees, which is, if Neptune were at 12 degrees Pisces, that would be exactly 90 degrees. But I still think we're going to get some struggles here with kind of connecting with the greater unknown. There's a lot of energy floating around, but it may not coalesce into something really concrete, which gets into the question about what are we manifesting now. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more, and then I'll wrap that up with the whole manifesting thing. But yeah, but don't be surprised if you're like, I've got a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm for exploring, and a lot of stuff is coming up, but I'm not really sure what this all means, because that may happen with the Neptune square. And then we have a quincunx with Uranus and Taurus. Now, I don't think I've talked about this particular angle yet, but it came up here, so I wanted to do it. And it's basically 150 degrees. An 150-degree angle between planets means they don't communicate very well with each other. It's kind of like they're kind of like in a blind spot almost. And so Uranus and Taurus is about creating concrete change. And because we have this quincunx, I think that this is not the time to go out and make a bunch of concrete changes based on what has come up. And this gets into that what are we manifesting question. I really think this is a time for like seeing what comes up, exploring this new territory, figuring out what's out there, uncovering the tracks in your own soul. But wait a little bit before you actually figure out what you want to do about that. Like, don't run away to the circus quite yet, because the unknown part of Pluto means that I think it's going to resolve itself, but you might have to exercise some patience as you wait to see what you actually want to do here. So this is more like manifesting by thinking about possibilities, or manifesting by understanding what's really deep in your soul. And my astrological advice is it's not manifesting by, okay, I'm going to get a new job tomorrow. Okay, well, I'm going to break up with my boyfriend on Saturday. Like, I would wait before doing those concrete things until things resolve themselves a little bit more. The plus side is that we have a sextile with Saturn, which is in Aquarius, and Saturn rules Aquarius. So there's plenty of structure to actually make progress. There's plenty of support from Saturn to be like, all right, I've got all this stuff that I've uncovered. Now, how can I meditate or journal or talk to some supportive friends to figure out where I'm going next? But just take some time to think about it. You know, Aquarius is an air sign. Take some time to think about it and figure out what's really important to you before you make those concrete changes. So if we're going to wrap this up, and then I'll stop for questions, apply patient creativity to the obstacle of the unknown. There may be a lot of stuff where you're like, I'm not really sure what this means. Just be patient and wait for that obstacle to resolve itself or for greater understanding before you figure out actually what you want to, like what action steps you want to take. Emphasize a sense of humor over immediate concrete change. That's the Uranus and Taurus quincunx. And actually, I'm going to have a concrete example of this when I get to my ritual, which definitely had a sense of humor for me. So instead of running out and doing something, you know, if stuff comes up, you're like, wow, I didn't realize I had elk tracks in my soul. Wow, I didn't realize I wanted to run away to the circus. And just hold that with some humor and love as you figure out how you want to implement that. Okay, use structure and rational thought to moderate your exploration. If things feel kind of crazy, if a lot of stuff is coming up, if you have tons of extra energy, call on those Saturn energies to help you bring it back down, write a list, figure out what's most important to you. Sift and evaluate mental activity about your explorations. Don't let the Mercury and Sagittarius energy like run away with your communication. Spend some time figuring out, of all the ideas I have, which are really the ones I want to start with. What's the manifestation that would make the greatest impact in my happiness and well-being? And then overall, absolutely enjoy the adventure of expanding your world. This is like supercharged, expansive energy, and it may take a little while for the dust to settle and actually make concrete changes. But you know, you don't go on vacation so you can come back with a ton of like practical advice for your life. You go on vacation and explore to have a great time and to experience something new. And maybe you have 10 dishes in the country that you're exploring, and you come back and you're like, okay, I really want to cook 2 of those. Like, you don't have to bring everything about your exploration into your actual daily life, but allow yourself to enjoy the experience and to be inspired by the things that come up where you're like, you know what, I really do want to experience more of this. And then at the bottom, I've got my contact information. That's my email, robin@poolmx, my website, www.spiritsaid.com. And by the way, I am now, I'm just going to start running a special on year ahead readings and birthday readings. If anybody wants to get that as a gift certificate for a friend or a family member or for themselves, you can contact me and talk about that. Okay, that's what I got here for this first portion. Anybody want to ask or say anything?
Yes. Okay, so I have a question if we have time, but there's a comment in the chat that I would like you to expand on. So
Okay.
One of the participants said, I don't have Sagittarius in my chart. And I remember when you and I first met, you asked me, what did I have in Taurus? And I was like, I don't have Taurus in my chart. And you said, yeah, everybody has everything in their chart. So could you explain that a little bit more for people who are not seeing placements in Sagittarius, how they can relate to these energies and where they can find them?
Right. So Valerie's absolutely right. Everybody has every energy in their chart. What you may not have is a planet that was placed in that chart in the moment of your birth. So like, let's say you have Sagittarius in your 10th house. That's the house of career, but you don't have any planets in Sagittarius. Well, you obviously have a career, or you have some sort of, job that puts you out into the world. So what we do is two things. First of all, you can still apply the Sagittarius energies to whatever aspect that is in your, like I have Sagittarius in my career, for example. So I'm always like expanding my horizons, trying to find something new to do with my job. I never like just do one thing for multiple years. I'm always looking for something new. So that adventurous energy applies to my career house, even if I didn't have any planets there. But the other thing you can do is you can figure out where the ruler of the sign is. So for example, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is somewhere in your house. So what you would do is, somewhere in your chart. So what you would do is go and say, oh gosh, I've got Jupiter in Taurus. So Taurus is a sign of exploring the natural world and connecting with natural energies. So then you would say, my Sagittarius has this overtone of wanting to get out in nature maybe, or having a career that has to do with like natural energies, like you work at a greenhouse, or you're a forester, or you work in the lumber industry or something like that. So find the ruler of the sign and then figure out where that planet is in your chart. And that will give you some idea of what sort of influences you might experience in that area of your life.
Okay, so for me, it's Jupiter in the 7th house.
Okay, in what sign?
With Leo.
In what?
Leo.
Leo, okay. So, and where is the Sagittarius in your chart?
I don't
He's
see
the one
any.
that said he didn't.
Yeah, I don't have any Sagittarius.
Okay, so I would, first of all, I would invite you to email me after.
Yes. I was just gonna say, I'm just gonna reach out because this is something I'm really.
But if you
wanna dive
did you say it was,
into.
did you say it was Leo in the 7th house?
Yes.
Yeah, so that means that your Sagittarius energy probably expresses itself through relationships and through wanting to express yourself in a creative way. So you're going to be exploring wherever it is that you're exploring in your chart in a way that you like to travel with a buddy. You're better off talking to another person. Maybe you have a romantic or a business partner, or just like a super close friend that you can explore with. And that you're not somebody who wants to say, well, let me do it the way that everybody else tells me. You're more like, hey, here's what feels creative and exciting to me. And that's how this energy is going to impact you. And then email me and I'll help you figure out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay. Anybody else?
There was another comment. I'll just read it. It's from Wendy. Or Wendy, do you want to unmute and ask? Here's Wendy. Oh, unmute.
I called in. I always forget to unmute on the actual Zoom screen and the phone. Robin, I just had a question about, there's a common thought process out there with astrologers that you should not make decisions in between the eclipses. So, for example, we have the lunar eclipse, I think on the 16th, 19th. And then now we've got the solar eclipse coming up. And, so there's this thought process that you shouldn't be making concrete decisions. What do you think? Tell me what you think about that.
Well, I feel like it's a little bit impractical to denote a 2-week period in which no concrete decisions can be made. We're all living life. We have jobs, we have families. Sometimes you gotta make a decision. So I'm not of the mind in astrology that says, oh no, it's Mercury retrograde. Nobody should be allowed to ever do this Mercury retrograde thing, because then like the spirit of evil Mercury retrograde will come and strike you with lightning and I'm making this sound extreme for the purposes of my explanation. So I think that when decisions need to be made, you should confidently make them. And if you're uncertain about whether this is a good time, you can always simply ask your divine connection or spirit guides or your intuition to give you any sort of insight that you might need to make a better decision in a challenging time. But I also think that the period between eclipses is a period of change and a period where new energies are coming in. And I think that if you can, if you're not feeling 100% confident about making your decision and there is an opportunity to delay it, it's perfectly fine to say, you know what, let me just take another couple of weeks until I get to a period where I personally feel more comfortable making this decision. Or your intuition, sometimes this happens to me. My intuition is like, you're not ready yet. And I'm like, but I'm supposed to be ready because I'm supposed to do this thing. And they're like, but you're not. And I'm like, but I can't, because if I don't do it, so-and-so is going to be mad. And they're like, so-and-so will be fine. Take some time to meditate and journal and be comfortable making this decision. So I'm not much for like concrete rules like that, but I do believe in listening to my intuition or my guides. If they're like, you know what, take your foot off the accelerator pedal. This is a time where taking more time and waiting until a new period is going to help you be more comfortable making the right decision for yourself.
Thank you. I find that those changes are also sort of, you know, that the issue is forced, or you've got that requirement to make a decision at that point. Mm-hmm. And that's what I struggle with sometimes. You know, even if my intuition is saying, no, don't do it, there might be some outside forces that are sort of pushing me along a little bit, or, you know, forcing my hand.
So the thing is that and this is just my personal opinion, is that our psyches and our physical selves are designed to live in a human society. And it's that mix of like outside influences. Well, I've got a deadline at work, or I have a move out date that's coming up and I've got to make a decision. Those are not always things that we can adjust. And then our inner selves have this like whole idea of how they would like life to go, which may or may not fit with the requirements of our outer selves. But I believe that our divine connection and our higher self and our spirit guides or intuition are able to figure out how to make us bridge the two together. And I have the problem where I'm like, what if my intuition isn't saying this? Well, what if it's bad timing? Well, what if I have internal energies that need help? And my spirit guides are like, it's going to be okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if you have to accelerate a little bit faster than you want to because of the outside deadlines. Like, trust yourself. You're stronger than you think. You will be able to navigate through this. And I think when we're thinking about our intuition, or we're thinking about astrology, or we're thinking about external deadlines, we have to resist the temptation to feel like, well, I've got to get it just perfect or else it's all going to fall apart. Because we are stronger than that. And we have plenty of support, both corporeal support from people who know us and love us, and also incorporeal support from the divine, the universe, you know, our inner selves, to be able to work through whatever our requirements are, whether they make us feel comfortable or not. That's what my guides tell me anyway. I'm like, it's not true. It has to be perfect. And they're like, no, we wouldn't put you on a planet where everything had to go exactly right for you to have a wonderful and beautiful life here. And you can deal with the potholes and the rocky road as much as you can enjoy the smooth road to the beautiful view.
Thank you. And thank goodness we weren't put on a planet where everything had to be perfect.
I know. I really grew up that way. And I'm always trying to like, they're like, this is for your benefit. This is for your joy. This is for your growth. And I'm like, this is for my terror.
Right.
This is for my fear. This is for my stress. And they're like, no, they're like, release the stress. Ask for greater well-being. Ask for help learning to enjoy the rocky road. And I'm like, I just hit a huge pothole and my teeth are falling out. And they're like, no, they're not. They're not falling out.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Robin, and then it looks like Joyce has a question as well. Oh, I was hoping you would leave that screen up. Robin, on the Uranus Quincunx, is that what you called it?
It's called the Quincunx, yeah.
Quincunx, okay. So when I was researching for this, I figured that I read that there was negative aspect to Uranus and things that we need to be aware of. But my question was, I also came across something that showed that Uranus is still in retrograde. Mm-hmm. Does the retrograde have any additional things that we need to be aware of as far as its influence on this new moon in Sagittarius?
So I think that the Uranus retrograde is separate from this 150-degree angle.
Okay.
The Uranus just happens to be, whether Uranus was retrograde or not, we would still have this 150-degree angle, which suggests that concrete change is not what we need to be working on at this exact moment. It doesn't mean you can't do something, you know, in a few days, but like when you're thinking about what is the effect of this moon, this is a time to contemplate and understand and explore rather than to like try to colonize a new territory, so to speak. Uranus retrograde in general, though, and retrograde planets can vary a little bit, but a simple way of thinking about them is that retrograde planets signify a time when the planet's energies are going back to things in the past. So for retrograde Uranus in general, I would be thinking about like, okay, rather than thinking about, well, let me step forward into making a new change for my future, I would be thinking about things that like from my childhood, or, you know, how am I thinking about like I had to give up my career a few years ago. Do I still feel like how do I feel about the change that I've made? And is there any part of me that's grieving my old career? Or are there any things that I liked about the old career that I haven't made and just to transfer into my new career? So it's that going back over what's happened in the past and starting to think about whatever the planet symbolizes, Uranus is change in this case, go back over past changes and think, is there any work I need to do or any lessons I need to draw from the changes I've made in the past that will help me make better changes going forward or help me understand my current situation?
Thank you. That explains it a lot better.
Good, good.
And a question from Joyce. Joyce, you want to unmute and ask?
I just wanted to say, because I have, you were mentioning to Wendy about what is it, like to not rely on that things should be perfect, because I have my mother is an astrologist, and she tells me, oh, don't do this on this day, don't do this on that day, otherwise something will happen and you won't get in, you know, in terms of graduate school. And I don't know. I mean, I just feel I don't know. Like I feel like in my gut right now, like I've made a decision, but she tells me she told me to wait until December 8th, and I don't know if that has any meaning to you.
Okay. So first of all, far be it from me to contradict your mother in your life. So I want to preface that by saying I don't want to get involved in, I don't want to say something and then you go to your mom and you're like, well, this other astrologer said such and such, and then all of a sudden there's a big dust up between you and your mom. So I will tell you what I think, but I'm relying on you to figure out what you want to do with this information. So in the past, and I'm betting your mother is older than, because she's your mom. So in the past, there was definitely a strand of astrology that was like, well, don't do this on a certain day or else bad things are going to happen to you. And this has come down to us from the ancient astrologers, who often had that idea that you were like cursed by the gods if you did things on the wrong day. I personally feel like, you know, in Western society, the vast majority of people aren't making decisions based on certain days. And all of them have been fine. Like, most people do, and I didn't discover astrology till later in life, and I did okay before that. So I feel like now that I know about astrology, I think I make better decisions and my life certainly goes more smoothly. But I don't think you're gonna like shipwreck your life by doing something on the wrong day. And the other thing that my guides have really told me is they've told me, we do not want you to be afraid of astrology. The purpose of knowing about the planets is not that you live in fear about making a misstep and doing something wrong. That said, older astrologers, and maybe some younger ones too, I don't want to be ageist here, will tell you that and will say, oh, you're going to totally mess it up. It's not going to work if you do it on a certain day. So I always think about it's like good, better, best. Good is making a good decision. Better and best could be, okay, well, we've got some better astrology here. And so if I can wait till December 8th, I'm not sure why she would say that, but I could think about why that is. You know, if we could wait till December 8th, maybe it would be even better. But if you're like forced to make a decision before December 8th, I don't think that your life is going to end because somehow the astrology was wrong on that day. And that's partly because I think the thing to do is to ask whatever planets you need help from and say, hey, can you help support this decision, which I now need to make beforehand, or this deadline, which I need to follow, because we're not alone here. And I don't think the planets are like giving us directions that we're supposed to follow and then leaving us all alone. I think the energies of the planets are aspects of divine energy that will help support us, even if the conditions aren't completely ideal. That said, you might have to ask your mom exactly what it is she has in mind and decide why, whether that's meaningful to you or not.
Right, because I just one last thing. It's just that like it seems like certain things are just like meant to happen or not meant to happen. You know, it feels like everything is falling into place very well.
That's wonderful. I think that's terrific. And when I started astrology, I had that where I was like, uh-oh, what if I do this wrong? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I'm at the wrong timing? And they were just like, no, that's an older way of thinking about astrology, but we want astrology to be empowering and help you feel more secure and not more worried about getting things wrong. They're like, we are able to help and support you through whatever you do, whatever decision you make, whatever timing is forced upon you.
Thank you.
I love that, Robin. And I just want to add into what Robin said when she talked about that was an old way of thinking of things, that fear-based mentality. I think we can expand that to even beyond astrology. I think as a whole, as a society, as a collective, we're moving from fear-based into love-based. We're making actions more based out of love instead of based on avoidance because we're afraid of something. And that applies to tarot, especially. There were old tarot readers who would pull certain cards and tell you not to do things like, oh my goodness, I pulled the death card this morning. I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm not going to answer the phone. That applies to all fields, astrology, tarot, using your pendulum. The question that I would advise or suggest that you always ask yourself before you do anything based upon advice that you're getting is, am I making this decision based in fear? Or am I making this decision based on just awareness of what's present? These tools are to show you awareness, to give you insights, not designed to create any type of fear within you. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Valerie.
You're welcome.
Completely agree.
All right. Was that it for your portion, Robin? I don't see any extra questions.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Well, now we're going to move on to the rituals. Rituals are about how can you pull all of this knowledge that you've just learned about all of the energies and pull them into your life to make practical use of these energies. What are ways that you can use to practically incorporate these energies into your life? So that's what my definition of rituals are, and that's what I think of when I create these rituals, is how can we find real life, touch it, feel it, taste it, smell it, ways to work with these energies. So my ritual, it's not going to be a screen share, so y'all might want to take notes. My ritual for the new moon in Sagittarius is about fun. I bet y'all couldn't guess that was coming. So it's all about fun, excitement. I love Sagittarius fire energy. So we're going to tap into this fiery, creative energy that Sagittarius has for us as we go into this ritual. What I want you to do is think like a Sagittarian. Throw out any ideas that you might have about rituals, and just think that free-spirited, open mind, I'm going to create my own path. So this is kind of a out of the box, being very creative, having fun, going with the flow. Be a Sagittarius for a day. I want you to try to adopt that energy as you think about this ritual as I explain it to you. So this new moon unritualistic ritual is to create a visionary board. I said that specifically as visionary, not vision. So you are a visionary. You are a Sagittarian now officially for the day, for the period, for the new moon, which means you are a visionary. So this board that you're going to create is not about wishes and goals. That gets boring really quick for Sagittariuses. I can tell you that from experience. So you don't get to add any things to this visionary board like I want a new car, or I want to get out of debt, or I need to go on vacation. None of that shit can go on this board, okay? This is about you being the visionary. You are not someone with a vision. You are a visionary. What's the difference? There's an oh so subtle difference between the two. Someone with a vision is pretty common and ordinary. We all have visions about our future that we like to map out, things that we like to plan, things that we would like to dream and talk about. Everybody has a vision. But a visionary is someone who creates their reality based upon the fanciful thoughts and the creative ideas that they have. So a visionary is full of faith and belief that want what they can see in their mind's eye is as good as done. So that's how Sagittarians like to live. If I can think it, I can bring it into reality. They don't have to do a lot of checks and balances. It's just, it's done. I thought it, it's going to happen. At least that's how we try to live. That's the energy of a true Sagittarian, creative visionary. So therefore, as you go about creating this visionary board, this is like a running list of all the things that you know are coming your way. This is a list of the biggest, boldest ideas that your mind has ever held. These are crazy ideas, impossible ideas, ideas that make you excited just thinking about them. As soon as you think about putting these ideas on your board, you're already mentally checking them off as being completed, as being done, because you have that much faith in your vision fulfillment. So I want you to feel into the energy of how I'm describing and how I'm explaining this visionary energy feels like. Can you feel it just a little bit? Maybe you're starting to kind of get a whiff of what it would feel like to actually live as a visionary and not just have a vision. The very cliched question of what would you do if you could do anything? That kind of comes to mind. That's kind of points you in the right direction. But I want you to amp that all the way up. Let your wandering Sagittarius mind really explore all of the ideas that come to mind and believe that they can actually come true. So move away from the wishing and the dreaming and the hoping and the planning and move into the knowing. I am a visionary, and what I set in front of me is going to come true because I am a visionary and that's what I do. I make shit happen. I want you to feel into that energy. So the actual ritual, the actual activity, what you're actually going to put on this visionary board is a self-illustrated picture of how you look as a visionary whose dreams always come true. Y'all thought I was going to have y'all make a list and put some things on that board, some things that you wanted. Nope, this is a self-illustrated picture. If you can capture, see if you can capture as you're drawing, crayons, markers, whatever you decide to draw this picture with, see if you can capture the emotional feeling in this picture. See if you can illustrate it in your self-portrait, in the emotions on this person's face, in the clothes that you're wearing. What colors are you using as you draw this picture? Is there anyone or anything else in the picture with you in the background maybe? The idea is to encapsulate the energy of being a visionary on this visionary board. And since you are the visionary, it is your face that is going onto this visionary board. And as you look at this, I want you to feel the energy of expansiveness, feel the energy of exploring, feel the energy of knowing that whatever I say is going to come true. I believe in it. So once you've created your beautiful visionary board / self-portrait, I want you to put that up where you can reflect on it throughout the next couple of weeks between here now and the next full moon, or even throughout the next season between now and the next eclipse, to just encapsulate all of those energies and to remind yourself that you are a visionary. So again, this is a reminder to just have fun with this. Don't make it a really down into the depths. I got to figure out what crystals and what scents and all of that stuff. Mine is very much about just being what I know best, a Sagittarius, flying by the seat of my pants. I'm gonna draw a picture, and that picture is gonna represent energy. And every time I look at that picture, it's gonna make me feel happy and make me feel good and remind me that I'm the shit and I can do this and I can manifest what I want to manifest. So that's what this visionary board is about for you as part of your ritual. Is trying to actually step into that Sagittarius energy and do something fun with that Sagittarius energy, and then have something visually in your space that will remind you what it feels like to live in and experience that Sagittarius energy. So that's what I have for you for rituals. And now Robin is going to share what she has. Go for it, Robin.
All right. I want to mention that Gail said that she loves your necklace. Now you're muted.
I got like 4 on. Which one?
Oh, maybe it's the concatenation of all of them that she all right. Okay, well, that was awesome and amazing. And I'm already thinking about what I want to do for that thing. Okay. My ritual is, it's a little bit the opposite. And it's about how to take this myriad energy, all the ideas, and narrow them down a little bit. And if you're not on my mailing list, you could think about signing up for my mailing list. I sent out an email about whether you need to escape from your zone of excellence and find your zone of genius. So every time before these events, I always send out an email with kind of my thoughts on a topic that's related to the astrology energy, whatever it is. And then at the bottom, it's like, if you like this, you can, come to our moon event. But yeah, you might sign up for that. And it's actually, I always put them on my blog. So if you want to go back and look at what the past ones have been, you can just head off to my website, www.spiritsaid.com, and go to the blog, and you can see what the past ones are like. Anyway, what I talked about was how sometimes we get stuck in our zone of excellence. I got this from Juliana Garcia, although I've seen it in other places. But the zone of excellence is basically like what you're good at, what you're comfortable with, what everybody else always wants you to do. It's like, oh, you make amazing pumpkin pie. And then every year they ask you to make the same damn pumpkin pie. And you're like, okay, I'm good at pumpkin pie. Maybe you love pumpkin pie, but maybe part of you is like, could I just branch out to French silk? Could I do muffins? When do I get a crack at the turkey? Like there's that sense of, I don't want to get pigeonholed in this thing I'm good at just because, there you go, sweet potatoes. Yeah. I don't want to get pigeonholed in this thing that I'm good at just because I'm good at it. And everybody keeps telling me, oh, you have to make this, you have to do whatever. So Sagittarius energy is great for getting out of your zone of excellence and exploring your zone of genius, which is, I'm good at this, or at least I could be if I worked at it, and I love it. And even if nobody paid me, I still would do this. And gosh, it would be amazing if I could make a living at such and such instead of having to do this other thing that I'm good at, but really not very inspired by. So my ritual is about coming up with that. So what I did is, here we go. And this was guided by my spirit guides who showed me this. This is the Explore Your Zone of Genius. Now I picked an area, which was communication. And the reason I picked that is that I have, because of our Mercury in Sagittarius. So I knew that communication would be a little bit challenged. And especially because the holidays are typically a time when you end up doing a lot of communicating because we see our family members and our friends. And sometimes that can be a little bit challenging. And so I thought, wow, I really could use some communication support. But you could totally pick a different area to explore your zone of genius if you wanted to do family or career or travel or relationships or spirituality. Any place where you feel maybe a little bit constrained or like your current habits or routine are getting a little old and they're not really inspiring, that would be an area to pick. So what I did is I put together, and I've got 6 tarot cards. You could totally use Oracle here. And then I also picked 6 random objects from I have a little cabinet with random objects that I just collect. This is like a bison tooth. This is an origami paper bunny folded by my 6-year-old niece. This is a lion-headed piece of jewelry. There's a skull, there's a daisy, there's a little box. I just literally closed my eyes and randomly picked out stuff. And then I created this funnel shape because I wanted it to have the energy of funneling down all the ideas into the one that was most important to me. And then I picked a couple of, these are oyster shells actually from a birthday dinner where my dad ordered oysters, and I took all the shells home from the restaurant because I wanted it to have the energy of breaking out of my shell, right? The oyster's like hiding in its shell, not inappropriately, but I don't want to hide in my shell for communicating anymore. I want to break out of my shell. And so that's how I arranged this. And then I just picked a red background because Sagittarius is a fire sign. Okay, so the next thing I did, you can see I've got 6 here, is I rolled a dice and I asked for help. And I'm like, all right, universe, spirit guides, I'm going to roll this dice and I'm going to use that to pick which of these cards to turn over. And I ended up rolling a 6, which turned out to be the 2 of Wands with my little flower box. So I'm like, okay, this is where I need to expand to further explore my zone of genius for communication, the area that I picked. And this is just a little close up. This is a Waite Smith Coleman tarot. And I wasn't terribly inspired by this. I was kind of like, I don't really know. Am I going on a journey? Like I'm at the beginning of something. And then a little voice said to me, check your other tarot decks for the Two of Wands. So I pulled out some other decks and I came up with this one. And this is where I thought the sense of humor came into play, because this is the Radley Valentine Angel Tarot, which I don't always use for reading, but I think the pictures are really beautiful. And I thought this was so funny because I'm like, I'm supposed to communicate about my dragons. And I just laughed because I'm like, this is like exactly the kind of thing that I struggle with, because I grew up in this really rational and scientific household, that every time I start talking about these like things, people are like, well, that doesn't exist. Well, that's not real. Well, you're just making that up. And I have those, you know, in my head, well, that's not real, where you're just making it up. And I thought, here we have two lovely young men, and they've got this dragon that they're kind of shepherding through the world. And I'm like, this is exactly how I feel about my communications, which is, it's beautiful and wonderful to me. But then when I start to talk about it to other people, they're like, well, that's not real, or that really doesn't exist. So what I did is I took this picture of this thing and I put it on my phone. And I've actually got the card here in front of me on my desk. And I'm just going to spend the entire month of December meditating on what this image tells me about my communications. And I like the fact that the dragon is sandwiched in between the two people, because I feel like, you know, not everybody wants to hear about dragons. But obviously they love and value this dragon, and they can, you know, protect it from people who don't appreciate dragons, but also share it with people who do. And I think I need better discernment about like when to talk about my sort of more metaphysical or spiritual activities and when not to. So anyway, that was my ritual. And I'm going to just spend the entire time thinking, what does this image tell me about my zone of genius and how I can explore it more? And I'll do some meditations and ask my guides what they have to say and that kind of stuff. All right. And there's my contact information again. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions? What do you guys think about this concept of zone of genius and exploring it?
I just wanted to comment on that image right there for the card that you turned over. They look like they're archers, which is Sag energy too. I love that.
Yeah, very true.
Arrows.
Very true. I think those are the wands.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to follow, and I don't know if I missed a step somewhere. So you drew the cards like 3, 2, 1, and then you put a charm on each one.
Yep, that's right.
And what did you do with the charms?
Thank you so much, because I totally skipped that in my explanation. Thank you, sharp-eyed Elizabeth, for asking that. So if we back up a bit here, you can see that I totally skipped that part. The charm on top of this was a little box with a flower. And so what I did is I asked my guides then and my intuition, what is the symbolism of this box? And they said, and here's the image, open the box. And what they said to me was, you need to take the lid off of all the things that are going on inside of you and stop keeping in all your ideas because you're afraid of what people are going to think or how people are going to respond. So this charm was like the instruction from them to bring out what's inside of me and not be afraid to communicate about that.
So you intuitively selected the charms that would go on each of the boxes, or I mean, each of the cards?
No, I randomly selected those.
You randomly selected them.
Well, if you believe in randomness or not, I didn't look and think about them at all. I closed my eyes and I pulled them out of my tray of charms.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe my intuition or my guides guided my hand. That could possibly be. But I had no idea what I was pulling out. It was a total surprise to me.
Okay.
Once I did that.
Yeah. And then the die, you rolled the die in order to figure out which card to flip over.
That's exactly right, because there were 6.
Okay.
And I just numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I rolled the dice and it said 6. So I pulled out the bottom one.
Thank you. I understand.
Yeah. Sorry, that went by kind of fast.
No. I must have checked out. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. I'm
No.
sorry.
Entirely left, but I just went by it too quick.
You know what I find funny is that I'm generally the tarot gal and Robin is the astrology gal. I had nothing in my presentation about tarot, and then Robin's entire ritual is about tarot cards. I love it. Robin, I have a question for you. What deck is that? I know it's the Rider-Waite-Smith, but who was because the background,
I don't know. I got it off of eBay for like $5 and it took 6
Oh.
weeks to ship from China.
Got you.
But
I like the
love
backs
it
of those
because-
cards.
I love it because it's, if you can see, first of all, I think Pamela Coleman Smith's stuff is amazing because of her background, but it's also, you can see they're kind of metallic.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've seen those decks around. Yeah.
Yeah, so they photograph really well. So that's, except they have these,
What?
but I like how metallic and like shiny and pretty they are.
Cool. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
They feel Sagittarius to me.
Flashy. We like the sparkles.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Gail, I want to show you. Was it this necklace that you were talking about or the other necklaces? We're off topic now. We're not talking about nothing but necklaces because somebody complimented my necklace and I got to go for it. I'm going to talk about all of them just because I want to. This one is an abundance necklace that actually has like, I can feel the energy of this necklace. It was gifted to me by the wonderful and amazing Ari. And I can tell when I take it off and I'm not wearing it, like I'll take it off to clean it or something, I can actually feel the energy. So I love, love, love this one. This one is for abundance. My other necklaces I just found because I'm in the process of moving and I'm gonna go over them real quick. This one I made, I don't know if you can see it real good, but this one I made and it has gemstones or it has colors that signify each of my 4 daughters. I made that one. This one is a lighthouse. That reminds me to be the light. Be the light, Valerie. And this one is, I think of it as a good luck charm, but I bought it because it looks like 4 hearts. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
And 4 hearts is my thing. I call each one of my daughters a heart. So 4 hearts. So anyway, that's my necklaces. Thank you. Thank y'all for indulging in my very off topic, not related to anything, moment of displaying my jewelry. All right. Anybody have any questions though, back on topic about the moon ceremonies or anything? No? Okay, Robin.
One last thing. Valerie and I discovered, speaking of jewelry, that we were both wearing citrine rings today. And I just want to mention that if you feel like you need some help or support with your communication, citrine is a great stone. But you might look at stones that work with Mercury, and just to stabilize your communication, since of course I was communicating today. Yeah. So, all right. And then, yeah, so anyway, so get some crystal support for communication if you feel like you need that this month. And especially if you are going to be interacting with family members or friends and you know that your past history of communications is not so great, take a moment to find a crystal or a stone or piece of jewelry and meditate over that and infuse it with the energy of whatever you want your communication to be like. I would like to have the strength to hold my tongue and not respond to Aunt Grace every time she tries to bait me about such and such. You know, I would like the courage to speak my own truth, even if it's met by silence at the holiday dinner table. Like whatever it is, take that moment and set that intention before you go into those interactions with people, and then believe that will help you. Gail asked me, do I leave that up all month? Which I guess she meant by my card. And the answer is yes, I plan to leave this up all month. Communication is a really big issue for me. And I'll be doing another ritual for the Gemini moon event coming up in a couple of weeks, but I think I'm going to leave this up all month because I just feel like I really need a lot of help. And I think one of the reasons I like these cards is that they're insanely detailed. And I've had like really interesting interactions and ideas from like stuff in the background. You know, I've looked at it for 2 weeks and I'm like, is that a dragon? Oh, it's a palm tree in the background. And then I have this insight about the palm tree. So I don't read with these because they're so detailed that it's hard for me to get a message in the moment. But I really like them for contemplation and meditation because of the details in the background.
I love that. And what's that deck again?
This is the Radley Valentine Angel deck.
Radley Valentine Angel.
Yeah, just stunning. It's incredibly beautiful. It's not, the representation in this deck isn't so great, but it's full of dragons and fairies and whales and all kinds of other animals. And yeah, it's cool.
Cool.
Unicorns too, Val.
Ah!
One
Somebody
of the
just said the
suits,
magic words. I gotta
one
get
of the
that deck.
suits is all unicorns.
Gotta get it. All right. There's another comment. Someone's been wearing adventurine, not citrine. Adventurine is the green stone. Grace, where's your mom? Because I don't know much about adventurine. Do you know? Do you know?
Aventurine comes in green. It also comes in blue. I feel like it comes in more colors as well.
Yeah. Madeline says she's wearing
But
light green.
blue
And I
would
wanna
be good for communication.
I want to mention that aventurine is a good stone for Mercury if you've got a speckled one, because one of the properties of Mercury is that it's variable and speckled, and so things that are multicolored often channel good Mercury energy. And actually, I just put together a Mercury energy bracelet for somebody and used aventurine.
That's good to know. The adventurine I have is speckled.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Ooh, learning something new.
And
Aries, adventuring can be great for heart chakra work too. Awesome. I love that.
This is something I think that is important when you're thinking about crystals for yourself, is that, you know, like, let's say we're talking about supporting Mercury, right? And I say, okay, any speckled or multicolored stone is good for Mercury. But then you can ask yourself, like, why do I need support for communication? Like, for example, I struggle to be confident to speak from my heart because of past experiences where people told me that what I said was stupid and foolish and not valuable. So it would be great to get a multicolored stone that also is good for heart chakra work, because I need help linking my communication with speaking from my heart. But you might have a different communication issue. You might say, well, I have trouble communicating because I have so many ideas that I don't put them together coherently, and then people don't understand what I say. And then you might want a grounding stone that's multicolored. So you can layer in different aspects of what you are trying to work on by thinking more deeply about what your communication issue is, and then making a choice of whatever stone or whatever color or whatever you want to wear. And the way that this works, according to my spirit guides, is that the more concretely you think about what you want help with, the more concretely you get help with exactly that issue. And so it boosts your self-awareness to think not just, okay, communication, but like, what aspect of communication do I want to bolster? And they're up there going, yay, she's learning about herself. That's so great. Let's help her. What a great idea.
Love it, love it. All right, you guys, for those of you that joined a little bit later, I just want to let you know we're not doing the meditation today. That's not where I was led with this presentation. So we are going to end a little bit earlier, but before we end, Robin, please tell the lovely participants, please tell them about the December 11th group that is event that's coming up.
Okay, so December 11th, we're having another astrology class. This one's called Hearing Spirits Whispers, and it's about how to use your 9th house and your 3rd house to make sense of that stuff that a lot of us experience where we're like, I found a feather. What does this mean? I saw an angel number. Is this random? Are my guides trying to tell me something? Or then there are other people who are like, I always ask for a feather and I never get one. But then my mother-in-law calls exactly when I think that she's going to. Like, there's this idea that, well, our guides or our divine connection communicate with us in these like top 3 ways. You hear something, you see something, you get a sign, or there's a coincidence. And like, I just was doing a session with somebody who's like, I have those things happen to me, but I never feel connected to my spirit guides because of that. And she's like, people tell me I should ask for a sign, and then I do. And then a couple days later, I find a feather and I'm like, okay, but that's not like scratching her itch really. And so I feel like astrology has great ways of talking about really figuring out what is the most satisfying and practicable way for you to communicate with your divine connection and whatever messages the universe has for you. Because what we don't want to do is be like, oh, well, Valerie hears from her spirit guides, so I want to hear from mine. Like, you don't want to have spirit guide envy. where you're like, oh, well, if I only could hear something, then it would be perfect. Because as somebody who hears something, I can tell you it's not perfect just because
boy,
it doesn't solve all your problems because you hear a voice. It comes with its whole
kind of makes more.
yeah. And it's a little bit like saying, wow, that spangled, slinky evening gown looks amazing on Elizabeth. I should buy one of those. And it's like, well, maybe you have the right figure for a spangled slinky evening gown, but maybe you have the right figure for a princess dress. Maybe you have the right figure for a super sharp tailored suit. Like, we don't want to say so-and-so looks amazing in this, and therefore we wish our relationship with our spirit guides was like that. So what we're going to do is talk about how to look at your astrology and figure out why is this happening to me? And then what kind of relationship or communication is really nurturing for me. And we're going to talk about the divine masculine and feminine aspects, messages coming in, but also how do you process the messages? Because it's easy to get out of balance where you're just getting all these messages, but then you don't know what to do with them. Or you're spending so much time trying to figure out what to do with them that you miss whatever's incoming. We need to have a balance between both of those. And we're going to be looking at some ancient astrology techniques because back in the day, they thought that everybody should have a divine connection. And a lot of modern astrology has moved away from the divine aspects of astrology just because, as an astrologer, a lot of my clients are like, well, what about my job? Well, what about my house? What about my relationships? But we're going to bring back some of that ancient stuff. And we still have 2 spots left. If you want to pay $10 and get an in-session reading, I'm going to be using examples from the audience. And so you'll get to see, I'm going to go through the basics and then we're going to get to see how you apply that to specific charts. And Valerie can put the link in the chat if you want to go and sign up for
it. I was looking for it. So I'm going to jump in, Robin, sorry to interrupt, and just tell y'all, if you have never had a reading from Robin, I know many of y'all have been coming to these classes and you've heard Robin teach about astrology and kind of answer questions, but if you have never had a reading from Robin, this is an excellent opportunity to sit in, even if you're not one of the participants receiving a reading, but to sit in and see the depth and the amazingness of knowledge that you would receive, even from just a mini reading from her on a specific topic. I cannot speak highly enough about the benefit you will get from just sitting in and listening as she gives these readings. So like she said, to get a spot to actually have her look at your chart and speak about the 3rd and 9th house, it's $10, very affordable. I don't know where y'all can go and get a $10 astrology reading, except for Tarot, Unicorns, and Coffee. But come to that reading, please. There are 2 spots left. And I hope you come to that one. I don't know that we will be recording it, but if we do record it, we're not going to record the reading portion because that is for the security and to make the people who are receiving readings feel safe. So you're going to need to attend the event in order to be able to experience and see Robin in action giving live readings. So I hope you all come for that. Thank you, Carol. Thank you. She put the link there.
Is that in the chat, the meetup? The event you're talking about is in the chat? Is that the one?
KO just put it in there.
Okay.
So it should be the last link showing up in there. Yes. The event is free to attend. It's $10 only if you wish to be one of the participants who Robin uses as a sample to give a reading to. So please attend the event, and if you choose, get a reading.
So can we pay that $10 ahead of time to get our spot?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't explain it. Yes, you need to pay the $10 ahead of time, and you also need to send your birth chart information to Robin so that she has a chance to pull and review your chart prior to the event. Correct, Robin?
Yes.
Is there a link in the event as to where to pay or who to pay?
Yeah, it's there. It's in the event. I just saw it.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it only through PayPal? I see it right now. I don't remember my login through PayPal. Is there another way that I can send the payment?
You can pay us a guest via PayPal usually now if you use a debit or credit card.
Or you can email Robin and work something out. Her email address should be on there.
Yeah, if you want to email me and send me a check, that also would be okay. But you just have to contact me.
And this is going to be the first of several. So we're planning a series of these events. But please take advantage of this because these spaces are going to fill up fast.
So I some type of a birth chart reading. I don't know my exact time of birth, but whatever I can get, just provide that.
Yes, you don't have to know your exact time of birth. There's an astrology trick. We do what's called a sunrise chart, where I put the sun in the first house, and I've done many readings for people with sunrise charts, and they work great.
Okay, is there a place I should go to do that before I meet with you for that 11th meeting on the 11th?
Yes, so go to the link in the chat. KO put that up in the chat here.
No, I mean to get my chart ahead of time.
Oh, no, you don't. So what you'll do is email me with your birth information. So your birthplace, your birthday, and then I will pull the chart for you and have it ready for the session.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, that's
Yep,
great.
you're welcome.
Awesome. All right. Any other questions before we close it out?